Hi there, welcome to I Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aries energy. And for this round of 12 zodiac sign readings, we are going to use this 10 card spread. We're going to shuffle this oracle deck, see what it wants to add to the story. And at the end, we're going to ask what a potential outcome could be that people might not see coming, depending on if they harness a more high vibrational Aries energy or a more worldly, shadowy Aries energy, because life is all about learning lessons. Aries energy is about the self. Do we learn lessons in life, get out of our ego, grow and heal and mature ourselves? And high vibe Aries energy that anyone can harness is about being a good leader in the world. And in high vibe, it's from truth and love and justice and fairness and treating other people the way you want to be treated and being who you say you present yourself as being. But not everybody has learned those lessons, and we're all on our journey of becoming. And it can be hard to get out of being more about ourselves. Our wants, our needs, our lusts, our greed, our pride, our ego, our fear, our insecurity, our past pain and heartbreak. And we'll leave it at that, and we'll continue on here. So, Aries energy is fire sign energy, which can be about what drives and motivates us. And probably the first 30 or 40 years of our life, we're pretty motivated by the world. And we have these dreams that we want to manifest and all these things we want to go indulge in that we're sure will make us happy. And the truth is, some people aren't motivated by love, because then you can't just be more about yourself. You have to work cooperatively with someone else, and you're supposed to treat them the way you like to be treated and put aside your ego to be loving and compassionate. And some people have no interest in doing that. Plus, if you do love, you get hurt. Some people might not feel they could pick themselves back up if they were to really, be kind of too devastating to their ego in a way, And needless, when relationships don't work out the way we want, it does hurt us in our ego, and we get in our competitive nature and maybe our lack of feeling worthy. And some people just don't want to do it. The Oracle card, rise above. You will gain clarity on this current situation when you see it from a higher perspective. So, high vibe energy is about looking at life from a higher perspective. There's more to life than me. There's more to life than just these things of the world. There is a higher truth and justice to aspire to, and this card, looking at life from a higher perspective, reminds me of Aquarius energy, which kind of can be about us being self-centered or too much about the world, and expanding our world to believe there's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. There's more to life than what we kind of can be brought up, conditioned by the world to think it is. And love is what makes it all worthwhile, and sometimes we lose sight of that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to enjoy these things of the world, but when we make those things more important than love for ourselves and respect for ourselves, and more important than love, we've kind of lost perspective, because the truth sets us free to live our more authentic life, to not be manipulated by all these other things. So, has to do with what people's dreams are. That's funny. I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's the Queen of Swords, which I view as Aquarius energy. Some people, at the end of the story that we're going to talk through, we either decide to align with our more immature worldly nature, and the Page of Pentacles can represent all three of the earth signs, that in my earth sign energy of my Virgo, my Taurus, my Capricorn energy, my philosophy of life is it's either more about me, or I still make these things of the world the most important thing. If I look a certain way, if I have a certain status or image, if I have power, influence, money, that's what will make me happy. And, in our more shadowy worldly nature, we keep bribing our more emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired nature of being inspired by love and listening to our intuition. We keep bribing our more emotional nature to keep indulging us in our more worldly nature. And then some people that are in their more worldly nature, though, they want people who have done the work to free themselves, to be loving, to get those people to be in a relationship with them. You be loving. I want you to indulge me in my more immature worldly nature. Can't I offer you these things of the world? I think that's fair. And we've all got lessons to learn. We get in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people, having hope and faith and belief and love, and then we go through this life experience, and eventually the high vibe people wish them peace. If this is how you want to keep living your life, you can do that, but you're going to have to do it with someone else. Because I want to be in relationships with people who, in that hopeful believing spirit of their earth sign energies of Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn, said, I want to invest in love and wish the past peace, and I'm going to move forward. But you have to be willing to temper your more worldly ego nature, which is what earth sign energy can represent within all of us. You have to be willing to invest in loving yourself and your more hopeful believing nature to be in the energy of love. And some people are not going to do that. The queens in tarot can talk about how we think and feel. We've all been betrayed before, which is also what the Queen of Swords can represent. The difference is that because some people were betrayed, they're not going to do love again. Other people worked through it. The truth set them free, and they weren't willing to give up their dreams, which is also what Aquarius energy is about. I've dealt with people who could have been bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, abusive, whatever. I'm not going to let them take my dreams away from me. I'm going to keep believing in love. I'm just going to let them go live their life, and I'm going to invest in the people who are loving. And I'm not going to keep investing in the people who aren't loving. That is what I see clearly. I'm not going to give up my dreams. I just let go of the people whose idea of the dream life is different than mine. And they can go find someone else to try to manifest that with. But that's not my truth. So we start out with a card not showing itself. And we're always dealing with different people at work, in our original family group, in our extended family, in our friendship groups, in the world, in our community. High vibe people have learned that not everybody is motivated by love. Not everybody has that hopeful believing spirit. And that some people, just have some more lessons to learn than some other people do, right? And just like you could feel that way towards some people, like I think they're kind of more immature, they're bossy, whatever, Those people in turn could feel that way about other people in their life too. It's all kind of relative. And we're all kind of looking for people who've kind of learned the same lessons that we've learned at whatever stage of life we're at. You might want people who you think are more on the same page as you. You're kind of wishing some people peace. Those people are trying to find people that they think are on the same page as them. They might be wishing some other people peace. We're all trying to find people that we kind of feel are on the same viewpoint in life or emotional maturity in life. Some people, though, are in the midst of some mismatched relationships. And when we first start out, and that's what the pages can talk about too, when we just start kind of getting to know each other, everybody could assume that, oh, I bet you view life like I do. And the other people are like, oh, I bet you view life like I do. But we don't. We all have our dualistic nature about what our truth is. And some people are more motivated by the world and want to work with the world, and that's what drives and motivates them. Other people are more motivated and inspired by love and they don't realize they could harness this energy differently. Ooh, the Six of Wands in reverse. Well, what that can mean, to be loving and be open to love, you have to get out of your more prideful ego nature, not in your pride and ego. I mean, it's really crazy sometimes when it comes up in the videos to understand how some people view life. But I think there's some people like, if they were to be authentic and loving to people and then it didn't work out, like as if they could be so mad at themselves that they were like authentic and vulnerable. Like, damn, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Sure, our authentic loving nature is like something we should value as like a gift that we give to other people. But some people, it's just like, I don't know, like they kick and beat themselves up like it's a bad thing that they showed someone that they were authentic and loving and vulnerable and wanted to be in a relationship with them. And people who are loving people, I don't think they relate to it that way. It's just like, I can feel proud of myself that I was authentic and loving and nurturing and supportive. I know that I feel I did everything I could to be authentic and just and fair and loving. And I can be proud of myself and I can move on. And then other people are just like mad that they were vulnerable to someone. I can't quite relate to it. So some people aren't in their ego. Some people aren't inspired to move forward being more authentic, because I view the Six of Wands as Leo energy, and high vibe Leo energy isn't about being boastful or prideful or egotistical, but about being authentic and loving and warm and encouraging. And for some people, that's not the truth of who they are. It's maybe being a little more practical and grounded. Some of them, when cards are in reverse, it can be extremes. Some people can be egotistical and prideful and manipulative and full of themselves. Some people are extremely prideful and full of themselves. Some other people just don't align with. They're more creative, inspired, hopeful, believing, loving nature. And it might be just because they're so caught up in the world. I think in our fire sign energy, initially all of us are kind of, we can be loving people, but, again, we're kind of so consumed with these things of the world and what we want to do and what we want to experience. And we just haven't gotten out of our ego nature more so. And we just haven't looked at life from that higher perspective to, in our fire sign energy, to be more inspired, to be more authentically ourselves. And we've got to learn, we've all got to learn these lessons. It's hard, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And it's kind of hard to maybe feel really confident within yourself, when we all know the first several decades of our life that there's so many things we don't know, and we're still trying to figure ourselves out, learn all these lessons and figure out other people. And, there's just so many lessons to learn in life that, for a long time in our life, we maybe just don't feel very confident within ourselves because we know that there's so many things we don't know. But let's continue on. I'm sure the story will fill out as we go. Oh, and another way this could be read is that shadowy energy can be people who try to create an illusion that, oh no, I'm motivated and inspired by love. I'm ready to move forward. Whatever was going on in my past or whatever, I'm over that. If that was me being about me or being in a relationship with someone else, oh no, I'm over that. But they could really be in their ego about it still. Or some people like to create an illusion. Oh yeah, I want to get in a new relationship with you. I'm willing to bring a victory into reality. I've been betrayed by people in my past. I'm ready to move forward with you. But they really don't plan to bring that dream into reality. I will try to create an illusion that I'm this inspiring, high vibe Aries would be, I am this stable, grounded, emotionally mature person that you should want to hire, go into business with, date, or marry. But they really are actually, I'll be in a relationship with you so long as it stays within these boundaries. If you want me to invest in authentic love, having that hopeful, believing spirit, no, not going to do that. Shadowy fire energy can be, I want to indulge in the relationship. I'll be in it. I'm just not going to do love. Fire energy can be sexual energy. I'll have sex with people. I'm not doing love. I don't want to do love. I've been betrayed. I'm defensive to love. But I'll be in a relationship with you. As long as we're getting along well enough, or if I like people to indulge me in my ego and kind of give up their dreams to be in a relationship with me, even better. You make your life about me. I like that. Your dreams? No, I'm not going to do that. But I will create the illusion. And that's what some people don't know. If both people are both more about repeating this old pattern and this way of viewing life, then they're on the same page. If two people or groups of people aren't operating from their ego and they both have this hopeful believing spirit, they're not willing to give up their dreams. They're just letting go of the people in their life that were still in their ego, and they're going to go invest in people that are on the same page as them. We all have gotten in relationships before, probably because some other thing that we thought was going to be victorious didn't turn out to be that way, right? And then in the Eight of Swords, it can talk about we're a little bit up in our head about love and maybe wanting to be in a relationship. And the Tower can talk about how we kind of feel maybe a little unstable about believing in our dreams and having a new beginning. And we feel betrayed. And then it can cause us this mental conflict in the Five of Swords. From the Eight of Swords to the Five of Swords, did we let go of the Three of Swords? The Three of Swords can talk about being heartbroken and still having inner conflict between our mind and our heart about something that didn't work out in our past. And again, it could have just been people in our life, friends, family members, parents, whoever, that we kind of felt betrayed by because we didn't understand why didn't they let go of their defensiveness? The Five of Swords is also Aquarius energy. Why didn't they look at life from a higher perspective? Why did they have all this mental conflict? Why I view the Queen of Wands as Leo energy? Why did they keep being defensive in the Nine of Wands? Why did they keep operating from their ego? Didn't they have the same dream as me? Why didn't they invest in love? Why were they more about themselves? Why were they more about being inspired by this more unstable foundation? Because if you build your life and your relationships within yourself and with others based on love, that's a solid foundation. And a Tower is trying to build at least one of the people not really wanting to do love. Let's stay in it because of status or ego or image, or I have these ways of viewing life. You should indulge me in these ways of viewing life. Let's do it this way. Why didn't people come have a victory with us? Why were people up in their head about change? Why were some people maybe have so much mental conflict about other people in their life? When we want to figure out why other people don't do what we would like them to do, all we have to do is look at ourselves at different times in our life to understand why didn't we do what maybe would have been in our best interest, and at a time in our life when we could have had friends and family members saying, why are you living your life like that, and why don't you believe in yourself, and you deserve so much better, and why didn't we? And we understand and can relate to it because of our own fears, insecurities, lack of confidence, immaturity, codependency, how things manipulated us. We can kind of have a little bit of an idea of compassion and understanding, but we could be surprised because we might have learned some of those lessons quite a long time ago. And it can be surprising that some people, assuming we're not all 18 or 21 or 25 years old, maybe people are like 35 and 45, that, gee, I'm surprised these people kind of haven't worked through some of these things. But it all depends on kind of the life experiences we've had and what we've been exposed to. But we've all been there where we felt betrayed. Things didn't work out the way we wanted. I think we've all been in more codependent energy. Being in more codependent energy is we had mental conflict about loving and believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. And instead of us investing in loving, learning to love our own worldly nature, high vibe Leo being loving and encouraging, Aries energy of the Two of Wands is about the self. Why did we have mental conflict about being loving and nurturing and compassionate to ourself, to get over our past pain and heartbreak and believe in our dreams? Well, from over here we have the Nine of Wands, which is Sagittarius energy about higher learning and education. Over here we have the One and the Two of Wands. Well, we had a lot of life lessons to learn to get from the 2 to the 9. We had to work through the Seven of Wands, which the Seven of Wands comes after the Six of Wands, and we maybe haven't even accomplished the Six of Wands. The Seven of Wands, well, in the Two of Wands, we have a dream. In the Three of Wands, we take action to bring that dream into reality. But we had mental conflict about loving and believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. So we repeated a past pattern. We kind of indulged our more codependent worldly nature. We were up in a mental prison about loving ourselves and believing in ourselves, because there's a maximum of 10 in every suit. And this is the Eight of Swords. If you're 8 swords up in your head, what are you thinking about? 2 cups of love. And we were kind of in our ego about offering love to ourself. Well, no, I need someone else to love me. I need someone else to validate my worth and value, And so we kind of let go of that dream because we had mental conflict. A little bit in our ego that things aren't working out the way we thought. And in our Aries energy, we can think we're the boss. Like, God, I got a good idea. I got an idea. I have a dream. That didn't work out. My more loving, intuitive nature is telling me to love myself, but I got some lessons to learn yet, and I think I'm the boss. I know, God, I'm going to go get in a relationship with someone else over here that things didn't work out for them either, and they're in a mental prison, and they're kind of feeling unstable, and we're kind of in the same boat. And we'll both work together, maybe, to hopefully move forward, to take action on the Three of Wands, to bring a dream into reality. The Four of Wands, to come together in relationship or marriage or friendship. The Five of Wands will work through our mental conflict. The Six of Wands will maybe move forward in something victorious. And the Seven of Wands, it'll be something worth defending. And the Eight of Wands will move forward and we'll defend it. And we'll be in the energy of love. And we will love each other. Well, you can be a loving person. But if you really haven't learned to love yourself, if you get in relationships with other people who kind of can be loving and nurturing to you, treat you the way you treat them, You can kind of reject them because you kind of reject yourself. And it's like, no, I'm going to go find people who don't love themselves. And then it's kind of me being in my ego. I like to view myself as a very loving person. And I know I have been there myself most of my young adult life. Oh no, I'm not used to someone loving me. See, I've had things that didn't work out the way I wanted, but I'm a very loving person. I'm going to go make those people turn into loving people. And if we had some loving, nurturing people in our life, they were confused. Why didn't you move forward with me and defend a relationship with me? It's like, oh, well, I really haven't learned to love myself. So, and I have these lessons to learn. So I'm going to kind of reject you, and I'm going to go try to get these people who don't treat me like I treat them and who might have a lot of fear and insecurity. I'm going to make them change. The fives talk about change. I'm going to make them be a more loving, hopeful, believing person. And maybe part of that too can we do have to put in work and effort to, it takes work and effort to, reap some rewards in our life. But sometimes because we haven't learned to love ourselves, we think we don't deserve it unless we work for it. But love is supposed to be free, and it's just treating each other the way you like to be treated. But sometimes we can have an idea that either I can change other people, or it's kind of wild. If you're have been a loving, nurturing person in your life, you'd never think of it as like kind of being in your ego, that you try to help other people change. But it's kind of a different story to be in a relationship with someone. Say you get in a relationship with someone immature, someone fearful, someone I don't know, stressed out, whatever they got, whatever issue they got, right? Well, I guess then if it doesn't work out, well, that person, they were really immature, or that person had whatever their issue was, right? And it's kind of a way where you're not in a relationship with someone who challenges you to grow and mature yourself. It's like always being a teacher to a student in a way. And you're always kind of in that position of being more the person who knows more in a way, at least in the area of love. And if we were to get in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as us, then it might challenge us to reach new heights, right? To step out of our comfort zone and stretch ourselves. But instead, we like to be in relationships where we want those people to kind of put in all this work to stretch and grow and heal themselves. And we kind of sit here pretty like, oh, I just already know how to be loving and nurturing and patient and self-disciplined or whatever, The whole thing is, though, there can be people in the world who like to play that loving, nurturing role in people's lives because it kind of boosts our ego. I'm this loving, nurturing person. And then we can come into relationship with people and we could think, oh my gosh, I finally did find someone who I kind of think is like me. And I think we could all have some fears and insecurities to work through, but I kind of really think we're kind of on the same page. I kind of view, because the Five of Swords can be about change, I kind of view the 5 and the 6 as kind of being at a place of balance. And also because there's 10 maximum in every suit, so the 5 is kind of the middle ground. We really kind of seem like no one's kind of maybe tipped more so than the other person, right? The only thing is, and that's why we can really, it's to learn these kind of subtle differences about people so we can get in relationships with people and we think, oh my gosh, I finally met a friend or a relationship partner or someone, or I found the work environment that really seems aligned with, I really think this could work. But the truth is, at a core foundational level, why we do what we do is different. Or how we want things to move forward, what we expect that dream to look like that we're going to defend. Some people are still mentally defensive to maybe moving outside their comfort zone in some way. And some people shadowy, Leo can be being in your ego. The Five of Swords can be having a lot of mental conflict because of ego, being a little bit more about yourself, maybe a little more full of yourself. The Queen of Swords, people could have certain traits, qualities, characteristics, social clout, assets that kind of like, I want to do this, and okay, sorry about that. Some people, their dream was to always live their life like this. From the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no, I'm good. This is how I view life. And some people could have viewed you as kind of being in a mental prison about love. They could have been in a mental prison about love. Could have been a little unstable. They could have been a little unstable. And that can be their idea of the dream relationship. They felt like they'd found someone who's in the same boat as them, and that's where they wanted to stay. And the other people were like, it was one thing to get in the relationship, but I thought things were going to move forward. And I thought we were all inspired. High vibe energy is learning to be more independent, have better boundaries within yourself, be more inspired to love yourself and be in relationships that are loving. And some other people could have been like, so long as this works for me and I kind of look like a victorious and successful and I've moved on and I have someone to be in a relationship with and I'm good. This is good. Let's stay right here. And it's like, it's just like a big gap. Again, the difference between the two is the Seven of Wands of Leo energy of, am I more motivated and inspired to get out of my defensive nature, which is Seven of Wands, can be about defensiveness, to be motivated and inspired by love? And some people were like, no, I was never planning to get out of my defensiveness. I've been hurt before. I don't even want to do that. We get along. It looks good by worldly standards. Looks like our dreams are coming into reality. We should do this. And while they're doing that and happy being in the relationship, like, if you want to do more, you do more. I'm staying right here. And the other people put in a lot of work and effort to try to move a relationship forward. And eventually they kind of realize that it is kind of like, so long as it works for you and it's good for your ego and your image and your status, because that's kind of, the ego image and stuff. Maybe just staying in a relationship, more codependent or whatever. Well, I don't want to stay in a relationship for those reasons. And during the course of this relationship, I did do that work to come together within myself, to work through my own inner conflict, to get out of my ego and stand up for myself. And I'm no longer operating from my more worldly egoic nature and rejecting my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. But I could have when we got in the friendship or relationship. Just like they could have been in that energy to a degree where you just didn't love and believe in yourself, had a lot of fears and insecurities, blah, blah, blah. But during the course of life going by, I've kind of learned to love myself, and I offered myself love and compassion and forgiveness and healed and grew and matured myself and looked at life from a higher perspective, worked through some issues of people in my past and, just realized everybody's where they're at and they might have had their own things that manipulated them and their past pain and heartbreak. And I don't want to repeat that pattern. So I do want to deal with the truth because I know the truth will set me free. And I know that offering love is the truth. I'm going to offer myself love to work through all that. And then when I do, I've kind of gotten out of the mental conflict and being in my ego about an old dream. And I'm looking to the future, and I'm I've moved forward and I feel more inspired and kind of like I'm living my more authentic life and not hiding behind my fear or my insecurity or my ego. And the I've learned to love myself and stand up for my more authentic, loving nature. I don't want it to be abused when I was in that energy. And if I were to get back in that energy, there'd be a lot of people who'd probably be willing to be in relationship with people. Oh, you're going to go indulge your more worldly nature? Oh, you're in a mental prison? Yeah, I'll come get in a relationship with you and let's stay right here. Let's not be inspired to do things any different. You just keep staying here and I might treat you like, if you do start to do that work within yourself and you're detaching from that old way and past pain and heartbreak, that can really cause those other people a lot of mental conflict and kind of get them in their ego that, how'd you do that? How'd you free yourself from some of the same things that manipulate me? Or how dare you love and believe in yourself because I wanted you to look to me for everything. Like I wanted to be God in your life. I wanted you to not love and believe in yourself so that I could kind of indulge in my ego in a relationship like I was a shining star in your life. And that, it's kind of, the difference is shadowy people don't want you to heal and grow and mature yourself. You can heal and grow like just a little bit. From the 1-1 to the 2 of Wands, being a little bit more inspired, but still focused on repeating this old pattern and still be defensive to really loving yourself and still maybe kind of indulging them in their ego, male or female. Still looking to them like being in codependent energy on them. And when their kind of more shadowy nature comes out, that's when your kind of intuition is kind of going back and forth. Like, I could have mental conflict because I could have love for them. But do they have love for me or do they live more from their mind than their heart? Are they more about themselves or are they inspired by this dream too? But why? Again, more about them, more about the status, the ego, the image, or is it about love? And then people start to wonder, I don't even know if this is my dream anymore because I just look at life differently than I did when I got in it. And now I kind of am more inspired to invest my time and energy into people who I think are more on the same page as me. And then while you're doing that, those people are kind of going through it because they want to go get in relationships with people who are more like them. We're just not the same people we were when we first could have gotten into some friendships and relationships in our life. And everybody could have mental conflict about it. Everybody could feel wounded. Everybody could feel betrayed. Everybody could feel sad because everybody thought you were going to think and feel just like them, like all your life. And we change over time. We're not the same person. A dream we had in the past is not the same dream, and the way we view life. At age 15, 18, 21, 25, we viewed ourselves differently at each of those ages. We viewed the world differently at each of those different ages. How we viewed relationships and what we maybe thought was more just and fair. A counterpart to the Queen of Swords would be a King of Swords. And King of Swords is Libra energy represented by the scales of justice, what we think is just and fair, and how we live our life, and how we view life, and how we view ourselves, and how we treat people in a relationship, and how we want to be treated in a relationship. And then the Queen of Wands, a counterpart to the Queen of Wands, would be a King of Wands, which I do view as Aries energy, are we kind of motivated and inspired by the same dream and what we think is just and fair? And it takes practice. Some people have went through more life experiences. It's kind of like muscle memory. Have dealt with things that haven't worked out the way they wanted. And of course, the first many times, we can go repeat some poor past patterns because we just want to feel better, But those don't work out the way we wanted. And so some people learn that I shouldn't take action more out of my mental conflict or more out of my ego or my defensiveness. That, and probably with help and support of friends and family and loved ones, I need to learn. I view high vibe Queen of Wands as like being your own loving, nurturing mother, father, coach voice in your own head. Because we're all not children and we don't want to get back in more codependent relationships. So I need to learn to love me and believe in myself and believe in my dreams. I need to be my encouraging, supportive energy within myself. Can other people join in the chorus and be those kind of people in my life? Sure. And that's great. But if I give in to my more shadowy nature, there's going to be other people who join in on the chorus and that too. Oh, you don't love and believe in yourself. Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, hey, I'll pile it on with you. I agree. So what we kind of align with within ourselves can dictate what we are willing to align ourselves with outside of ourselves. If we have negative self-talk within ourselves, we'll probably, because that's like our truth, we will kind of almost hang around people that will validate our lack of worth and value. If we love and believe in ourselves, well, when someone says something harsh and cold and mean, we're kind of like, what? What'd you say? I think I'm going to be looking elsewhere to go hang out with someone, because apparently our idea of how this was going to move forward is different, right? But if we're kind of acting and treating ourselves that way, it's more likely we'll put up with bad behavior in other people because we're kind of putting up with that bad behavior or condemning type behavior within ourselves. So there's some people right now, they could have let go of a relationship. We've all had loving, encouraging people in our life, whether they're friends or family, and we kind of poo-pooed them. And we're like, nope, I'm going to go do this. And we went and did that, and it didn't work out the way we want. Well, learning lessons in life is about tempering your ego. I need to change my egoic nature. I thought I was the boss. I thought I was so smart. And apparently that didn't work out. I have to be willing to change some of these ways of moving forward in life, or some of the things I went to go indulge in that I thought was going to be like a dream come true or living the dream life. That didn't work out. So I need to humble myself. Really kind of maybe think about what my dreams are. Do I want to repeat that old pattern or don't I? Well, the only person I can change is me. So I'm going to look at life from a higher perspective, and I'm going to have good boundaries to my own shadow nature, because we have the knowledge of the tree of good and evil planted within all of us. Our petty, envious, jealous, blame everyone else for our problems, that the seeds of that are planted within us, and they're like waiting to bust out again and again and again. And our loving, hopeful, believing nature, the seeds of that have been planted. And we realized I have to quit indulging my more immature nature, or it keeps me doing this. And instead, I need to offer love to myself, to be inspired to see the truth that when I indulge in my more shadowy, immature nature, it doesn't work out the way I want. How many times am I going to repeat that pattern over and over? What's that saying? Repeating, doing something over and over is like and expecting a different outcome is the definition of insanity. And there's some people still doing it, but other people learn some lessons in life, and they maybe learn some of them gradually over time. Generally it's not some great big epiphany. But again, while some people were learning these lessons, other people kept turning their back on learning those lessons or even being inspired to. And they kept repeating an old pattern. And then some of those people can be mad that, well, why did you move forward? Why are you more hopeful and believing? Why are you maybe more loving and confident within yourself? Why don't you have the same mental conflict I have? Why aren't you taking action more out of pride or ego or lust or greed? Why aren't you trying to manipulate or control people? Why aren't you acting out of feeling betrayed? Like me. And I was like, because I offered love to myself. And I worked through those things which were keeping me defensive. And I realized if I kept being in defensive energy, my dreams weren't going to come into reality. And I offered love to the situation to accept that people are where they're at. And if they're not on the same page as me, and if I think I know that they're more kind of what I would call immature or want to win at all costs or manipulative or bossy or up in a mental prison or have all these things that manipulate them. I've been there. I know what hell that is. And I don't plan to go back and get myself back in environments with people looking at life that way, living life that way, treating other people that way. And I got out of my defensiveness and my ego about it, and I was inspired to move forward and learn these lessons to set myself free. And it was investing in love and loving myself and seeing I need to invest my time, energy, and effort into other people in the world who have that hopeful, believing spirit, who are authentic and just and fair and know how to treat other people. No more trying to change other people. I'm looking for the people who have already learned those lessons. Because sometimes when we're thinking, oh, but I can change them, God, look, I'm going to love them. Yeah, being loving and encouraging and supportive to people is like the ingredients that could change people's lives. But they have to be open to change. And some people are like, nope. And if they were interested in being that type of person when we, come across them in the world, they would have been that type of person. And we need to see the truth of it. And when we don't want to see the truth, we want to stay in denial of the truth. Oh, no, I'm sure they're loving. But we want to stay in denial of the fact that they're not open to maybe being more authentic and loving. They still might have a lot of things that imprison them, and it can take years and decades to free yourself from one of those truths that we like to keep buried and not look at. And I'm going to go find people who are more on the same page as me. So, because some people are moving forward, there could be some people that could have thought if they turned their back to you and were defensive to you, you wouldn't love and believe in yourself. And they were kind of in their ego that you'll come back and do this relationship the way I want. Because I don't want to do the relationship the way you want. And some of those people are starting to realize that you've made peace with this. You've changed. You're not in your ego about it. You're inspired to look to the future and believe in your dreams. And you've learned to have good boundaries up and stand up for what you believe in. If people want to, there could be those people, other people in the world, other people you're going to meet. You're going to listen to your intuition. Have people learn lessons in life and gotten out of their ego and humbled themselves to be authentic. You know, we need more healed people in the world. Can I be happy that someone healed? Can people who moved on ahead of you be happy you healed? Sure. Does everybody want to get back in a more involved friendship or romantic relationship? Maybe not. You know, sometimes some people learned one lesson, but they had 6 more to learn, but they haven't learned those ones yet. But I learned one. Well, that's great. I'm glad. I'm happy for you. And same way people could say that to us. Because we've all had people that we didn't become friends with, didn't date, got out of friendships with, quit dating because we had our own lessons to learn. And then when we learn those lessons and we might approach some of those people, they're like, I'm happy for you. But, you know, while you were off learning that lesson, I might have done this other work. And, you know, it's like back then we could have kind of been more on the same page, but that's not the foundation I'm operating from anymore. And I'm glad you got out of that or whatever it was. And I'm glad you're moving forward, being loving and encouraging. Am I going to get in a relationship with you or a more involved one? Some people will say no. Other people would be like, oh, thank goodness you finally freed yourself. You know, you know, everybody's got to make those decisions for themselves. But there is some people who are in a mental prison because they were defensive, they were manipulative, they were bossy and controlling, and people are defensive to them now. And the things they went to go pursue didn't turn out the way they wanted. And some of them maybe could kind of be seeing the truth that shit, I should have moved forward with these people. But for some, they're too prideful to admit I made a mistake. High Vibe Leo is illuminating the truth. And I'm too prideful, turn my back on speaking my truth, that maybe I had some lessons to learn. Maybe I did have a lot of mental conflict. Maybe I was unstable. Maybe I was manipulated by things in the world or my ego or my fear, whatever. If you're not willing, pride comes before the fall. If people keep refusing to change, things are not going to turn out the way they think. It might look good by worldly standards, but it's not a foundation based on love. And both people, you know, in a relationship to work, have to both be operating from love. And some people refuse that truth. No, that's not true. I just need to get in a relationship with someone who's loving. And then I look like I'm that type of person, and I look victorious and successful, and I'm like a shining star. But eventually the loving people in their life kind of see the truth, and they listen to their intuition, and they realize their dream isn't going to come into reality with them, and those people become defensive to them. You know, you can try to fake love, but if it isn't something that authentically comes from you, that you freely give of yourself in a loving way, then it's kind of more like putting on a show. Shadowy Aquarius, like putting on a show for the world. Look what a wonderful life we have. Some people are even in a relationship that they're not inspired by, and they feel betrayed, but they're in a mental prison about ending it, because by worldly standards it does look good, and they also are in competitive energy with other people in their life that move forward, and they don't, you know, again, that ego thing. Well, I don't want to get out of a relationship like mine didn't work if I think those people might get in one any day, or they are in one already. But to stay in a relationship, to kind of so much in your ego, to stay in a relationship that you even feel betrayed in and that you don't even want to be in, because, I mean, the extremes, making your life that shadowy Leo energy, which doesn't mean you're dealing with a Leo, but so much about how they present themselves in the world that it stops them from living their authentic life. And they end up defending maybe people in relationships that they feel are immature. And it's like, or any of these other shadowy traits and characteristics. And it's like, or some people who are so full of themselves because they do view themselves, some of them do view themselves as loving, nurturing people. And in a lot of ways, that's why you got in a relationship with them. And some of them why you stayed in a relationship for as long as you did, because they do seem like loving, nurturing people. And in a lot of ways they are, but you kind of ended up realizing that only to the degree that you keep being in this more codependent energy. Like, I'm the parent, you're the child. I'm the teacher, you're the student. I'm the boss, you're like the employee in this relationship. Because I'm defensive actually to love. But I like people to view me as that way, so they stay in a relationship with me. But I don't want you to heal and grow and mature yourself too much. Because then that challenges my viewpoint of myself, because I'm not willing to do that. That causes a contradiction within me. That causes me mental conflict, because I like to view myself as this loving, nurturing person, and that I'm not bossy and controlling or manipulative. And they can't help but see that they are kind of prideful and egotistical and more about themselves. And then they don't want you around because you cause them mental conflict and maybe do whatever and be defensive to you to get you to leave. And then they'll try to confuse people about the truth about why you left, and then they can go back to being in denial of the truth of the foundation that they operate from. They do have mental conflict about being more authentic and loving. They are kind of a little bit self-indulgent of themselves and kind of think it should be a little bit more about them. And since they think it should be a little bit more about them, they think other people who get in a relationship with them, male or female, that they should think it's a little bit more about them also. And maybe because they have these certain traits, qualities, or assets in the world, that's how they view life. And they think these things of the world are more valuable. That's why they disregard love, because that's not as important. And that's how they view life. Loving people should want to be in a relationship with them because they value what they have to offer more than they appreciate and value what you have to offer. And eventually the high vibe people figure that out. And it's like, I'm going to go offer my resources, which is stability and security and encouragement and love, to other people who are on the same page as me and respect what I bring to the table and what I contribute. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aries energy? High vibe people defend the loving people in their life. If that means they've seen the truth of people from their past who freed themselves, and yes, these are the people that are more aligned with my truth. Or some of the people in their present are some of those types of people. And they might see that some of the people they have been moving forward with, they need to let them go and not move forward with those people. At any time in our life, we've kind of got to relook at, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why are the people that I'm hanging out with me? What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Page of Pentacles, having a brand new beginning. Why? Because you aligned with you worked with like divine energy. Love is the highest vibrational energy of all. And the Ten of Cups is you have invested in your more worldly nature. All three of your sign energies, because you offered love to yourself, your own shadow nature is working with you cooperatively. But don't discredit your shadow nature, because at the big picture, it's kind of represented by the devil, and the devil prowls around like a lion waiting to see who it can devour. And any time it thinks it can get in control of your life, boy, it's going to try to take you down and jump in the driver's seat of your life, So, but the more we're loving and nurturing and encouraging to ourselves and creating a loving foundation within ourselves, the less inner conflict we have, because we temper our own fears and insecurities like our own inner child nature. Honey, we are going to put in work and effort to get the things that we want. Yes, I know there's all these things that you want. But we've already tried it your way and it didn't work out the way we wanted. So we're going to temper our ego and our fears and our insecurities about moving forward in life differently, facing the devil we don't know versus staying with the devil we do know. And we're going to offer our love to ourselves every day, to be willing to be a student of life and listen to our intuition about the different people we meet who seems to be immature and have these shadowy traits and characteristics, and who seems to be authentic and loving. And there's no guarantee, but I've learned to stand up for myself and not put up with some of the bullshit I put up with before. Doesn't mean I have to be rude to people. It's just, I think I'm going to kind of keep my distance. When my intuition tells me someone's kind of being manipulative or being dismissive or seems to be whatever where it's trying to manipulate me, I wish you peace. I'm going to keep my distance and find the people in the world who aren't acting like that. And I think as you keep in that energy, there's going to be other people in the world that are going to want to invest in you. And they're going to do this evaluation about how they've been living their life and the people they've been hanging out with. And the people in their life who are willing to deal with the truth, to let go of some of their past pain and heartbreak and being in their ego or being more about themselves and love themselves and stand up for themselves to their own shadow nature and the world and other people in their life trying to manipulate them. Those are the people that want to be in the same energy you're in. But there's always going to be immature people who want to come be the next people to indulge in a relationship with you. And I think you'll have good boundaries to get to know people. The pages can represent small offers of getting to know people and listening to your intuition about who seems to be on the same page as you and who doesn't. And, kind of keeping some distance there before moving forward, getting more involved, right? Okay. What's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Aries energy, which within all of us, we all connect in with Aries energy within ourselves. We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Two of Cups, the Star card, and the Eight of Cups. And the reason is because of the Nine of Swords. Some of the more worldly, shadowy people, their truth, there's a maximum of 9, they keep not completing a cycle because they get defensive to that, seeing that last truth. And that last truth is they need to see the truth. They might just be in much more codependent energy or self-centeredness or materialism. But they don't want to see the truth. That they need to learn to love themselves and believe in their dreams and quit making their life so much about themselves or these things about the world and become more emotionally independent from their mind. Shadowy energy can be all those things that try to manipulate us. Our mind can be our self-protective, self-defensive energy. You can't go out there and play in the world. You get hurt. You got to stay in here. We can't trust those people out there in the world who are creative and inspired and motivated by love. They need to love themselves to become more independent of their fear and their insecurity and living more from their mind than their heart, to listen to love and intuition. But since they're unwilling to do that, they're always going to have some high vibe people that would like to be in a relationship and move forward in a more emotionally fulfilling, independent relationship. But because the other people have so much fear of doing that, they're like, no, here's these things in the world that I can offer you, which can be, but I have sex with you, but I'm willing to do whatever you want, or I'm willing to indulge you, or I have money, or I have power, or whatever. We'll look like shining stars. And eventually the high vibe people realize it's kind of an illusion, and it's kind of superficial and shallow, and it's not very emotionally fulfilling. And they end up having high vibe people leave their life Because the high vibe people see the truth that they are never going to defend and stand up for their more loving, intuitive nature, because in their free will, they choose to defend their more worldly nature. And then all the people in their life that live their life more like that. It's like we're not on the same page. And eventually, some high vibe people keep leaving their life. And then they're in a mental prison. And then they have all this mental conflict and kind of in their ego. Why do other people get people to stay in a relationship or want to be in a relationship or wish they could reunite with them? Because the other people are being authentic and loving. And they have that spark of life because it's not a mental strategy and plan. They're actually inspiring and loving and creative and, they're not operating from ego. And the other people just don't get that. It was like, no, I detached from that foundation maybe a long time ago. I don't want to be more authentically myself. What if people didn't like me? Well, then you move on to other people. But some people still really take things really personally, And it's like, live your authentic life and be free. And if people, that's not their thing, then that's not their thing. Keep living your life. And other people are like, no, I got to conform to the world. I got to do what other people are doing. And I need to act like this and talk like that and wear these clothes and hang out with these people and not those people. And then they kind of wonder why other people are kind of defensive to them. But eventually they'll probably end up that the people who will keep staying in a relationship with them and willing to keep investing in them, it might be because in their mind it makes practical, logical sense. They're defensive of having a new beginning and loving and believing in themselves. So basically giving up their creative, inspired, hopeful, believing dreams to settle for a dream that makes logical, practical sense. I'm sure this will be fine. And everybody's maybe living more from their mind than their heart, being defensive to love. But by worldly standards, if it looks good for some people, that's the most important thing. So they might keep moving forward with it. And you might know some people like that, and you just got to see the truth of it. Wish them peace and move on. God has another plan for your life. You just needed to be willing to deal with the truth of it instead of being in our ego. No, God, I'm sure it's them. God's like, yeah, that didn't work out. No, I'm sure it's them. No, I'm not going to do love. No, I'm going to keep being defensive. No, I'm sure it's them. Make them change, God. And God's like, they got free will. And they don't want to deal with these issues that they have buried in their foundation. And maybe you weren't seeing them clearly, or you didn't know them as well as you thought you did. They don't operate maybe from the same foundation you do. And there's something else planned for you, but you have to be willing to be a student of life. And quit thinking you're the boss. So, there you go, Aries energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.